Okay, and hello everybody. Welcome to Speed Gaming, and we are on the Open Weekly, and that's between Homemade Beer, Joss, Signums, and Mr. Ed 3. People are already making their predictions, yeah, this should definitely be an interesting one. We'll see, and we've got tons of races, and it should be a ton of fun. So yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to predict here, we'll see. And just waiting for them. Oh, let me see. Yep, can see them there. Just waiting for them to start. Open means that it's effectively open Hyrule Castle, meaning you don't have to go through Castle in the start, and there are no other situations, no other premises to that. Everything is randomized, and we can see them all starting off here. Homemade, Stignums, and Mr. Ed 3 are starting off in Link's house, whilst Joss is starting off in Sanctuary. I'm just keeping an eye. Map check. There is a red pendant on Eastern Palace. And I saw that from Red Palace. EP is... Oh, yeah, Desert Palace is a pendant too. Thank you ever so much for that. And they're finding out what the tree drop is. The tree drop is hearts for the first cycle of that. And now we're going to see what the uncle is giving. Oh, 300 rupees. Everybody's rich today. I'm going in to see what the other chest is here. Yeah. Just a 20. And now we get to see whether this is Aghanim lot. No, it isn't, not based on that. So the tree drop down was just 300 rupees, which means that Aghanim might still be required. But, that might be something more like something on Pyramid Lich, for instance. Yep. So green pendant, just double checking that. Green pendant is definitely somewhere in the Dark World. And everybody else is now going down the route that Joss went down. Joss picking up that 50 because he didn't start out with the 300 from Castle Town, and doing the drop down into the Thieves' Tree. Oh, well, I guess you could call that the validation rupee. The seed is validated. And we'll just keep on going on from there. And just keep seeing what's happening. Joss is probably going to go into Kakariko. The reason he'll be going into Kakariko is because there's a ton of checks there. There's Bottom of the Well, there's Blind's Hut, which Joss is now going into. And first one's a piece of heart, then 50, piece of heart, bombs, and let's see what's at the back of the Blind's Hut. Signums is picking up the green rupee there. Shovel, which is good for one more check, always feels a bit like a a chase with regards to all of this. You go from shovel to something like mushroom to powder, and it just never stops, does it? Okay, Joss is now doing the drop down to Bottom of the Well. And we'll get to be able to see what the checks there. Again, whilst it may seem like Homemade Beer, Signums, and Mr. Ed are, slightly behind everything else, they do have the money from Uncle, which is definitely going to help them, and Mushroom in Bottom of the Well, and the first sword is there in Bottom of the Well. Okay, so just a 50% refund on Bottle Vendor. We'll just get to see what else is here. So at the moment, just a lot of fetch quests for everybody, and they're all starting out. What is in Chicken Hut? Just a red 20, so nothing special. So we'll keep seeing about this whilst they continue up. Most likely their checks will either be something like South Shore or Sahasrara. And there in Kakariko Village we see the gloves. And Joss picking up bombs there. Okay, so it looks like nothing in library. I didn't see it. Looked like 10 arrows to me. And yes, if you'd like to volunteer, you can, you know, go on those Google forms that Speed Gaming Bot has shown out. And of course, we've got the schedule up there, VODs and everything. It's absolutely crazy. I sometimes watch some of the VODs on YouTube. Which is just a nice thing. Try with some not to see them before, so I can see them later, you know. Oh, and Boots was in the dig spot, which is kind of good that everybody got shoveling Kakariko, but, you know, the question is, will everybody else get that? Yes, definitely. So Joss is now going to, I'm wondering, oh, with strength, back of Hyrule Castle, got it. Everybody else is keeping up the checks. That's Lamp in back of Escape, so that's definitely good. Ah, no worries. I didn't see a flute anywheres. And Signums is actually going to pick up the piece of heart that's there. Joss is now doing South Shore. So we'll see what's here. Mr. Ed is going to pick up the boots. And yes, so Joss going to Kakariko first gets a few milliseconds of an advantage by getting the boots first. Does the start of the dam. That is just a red 20. And is just out there to do the back. Homemade Beer is routing it in to do the same checks. Mr. Ed is doing Bomb Crocs, and I did not see what Signums was doing, so I'm just going to check Bomb Crocs here. And this is, well, pretty open seed. Moonpearl is in the, effectively when you drain the dam. So that means that there should be some, well, I mean, with the mitts, it's Dark World Axis. Could somebody tell me where the mitts were, please? And thank you ever so much, Speed Gaming 3 with the party of 32. Bonkrox, okay. We'll remember that one, so thank you ever so much. Homemade Beer is going up to Desert Palace. Signums is checking King's Tomb. Joss is in Sanctuary, and Mr. Ed is going to pick up Lamp at the back of Escape. Homemade Beer is going to check the Desert Cave. Oh, Mr. Ed was hula-hanning. Okay. This is a, well, it's effectively a technique that can be used to put the game into a screen where it's not supposed to be. so it doesn't know where to place the players, so it puts them in the hula hang room with about 255 rupees within it, which is pretty good. And Joss, with the lamp and with the mitts, is deciding to go up the mountain. Has anybody visited Mini Moldom Cave yet? I have not seen it, and I haven't seen anybody close to it. Okay, I'd assume that's a no, so we're gonna see what the old man gives, just a piece of art. Mr. Ed is picking up their moon pearl now. And we'll just get to see what effectively happens. Homemade beer is going to bonk rocks in order to get the strength 2. And yeah, I haven't seen it either, so I assume not. Mr. Ed 3 is going into Mini Moldorm Cave, so we'll get to see here what's possible at South Shore. Same as Signums. And I didn't notice what was with Joss, but Joss seems to be getting it, so it seems to be important. Red Boomerang is on the ledge. 25, 300, and 10 arrows, and I don't believe the thief gave anything important. That was in Mini Moldorm Cave, and ooh, the hook shot is in... Well, it's a cave within Western Death Mountain that normally has a hint associated with it. So Joss, with regards to... Yes, it should be. With regards to all of that, thank you, viewer. Joss is now hook-shotting over to East Death Mountain to do all the checks of Paradox Cave and Super Bunny Cave. The only thing possibly missing out here, of course, is because there's no... Well, and Hookshot Cave. This is... Well... everything seems to have turned out quite well for Joss, honestly. Mr. Ed is doing a flipper, a flipper trick that you use the moon pearl and the boots for, going into the bottom of the bridge here, and that is Cane of Samaria. So we'll be able to see if Homemade Beer can go out of logic for that. Homemade Beer is going to Ice Cavern and is close by. Joss, I didn't see anything in East Death Mountain at the moment. Just a heart in Ice Rock Cave. Mr. Ed is checking all of Zora, so we'll be able to see with regards to that. Joss is going down into Spiral Cave. It's basically using a glitch using, again, it's a fake water walking glitch. Fire Rod is on ledge. Okay, I'll take that. Looked red to me. I'll take that as given. I didn't see it. Thank you ever so much, chat. That was Ledge on the Island, was it? And there's nothing in the Fairy Fountain near Zora. Homemade Beer is going to take up the Cane of Samaria. Yeah, fair enough. So that's good. And Zora. Zora is still a bit of a scam, just a heart. Joss is now doing Super Bunny Cave, which there are 2 checks here, so we'll see what they are. Moving into Hookshot Cave. And yeah. Yeah, okay, we'll just have to see. Okay, MMSW Reds, thank you. And there seemed to be nothing in Super Bunny Cave. So we'll be able to see from this. And we'll see what gives in Hookshot Cave. And Mr. Ed is going to go into Thieves, well, you know, the area surrounding Thieves Town right now. And we'll just be able to see. And there's the confirmation on what it was. Bombos is Turtle Rock. Okay. Thank you for that one. And let's see what's in Hookshot Cave. Half Magic is in Hookshot Cave, which is going to make it easier, and nothing else there. And we'll just need to see if Joss can find the mirror somehow. Probably gonna go down into the area around Thieves Town himself. Homemade Beer is doing King's Tomb. And I haven't seen what C-Shape House is or the brewery. Mr. Ed is now going into Thieves Town. Just looking at that. I haven't seen if it's a crystal. Yes, it is said as a crystal on one of the trackers. So, you know, this should be able to be full cleared apart from the big chest, which may be small key locked anyways, because that might need the hammer. So we'll see if Homemade Beer now goes up into Skull Woods. Signums is already in Skull Woods, so they're starting to do. And ooh, Ice Rod in Thieves Town, Turtle Rock is necessary, so that is definitely a little bit of an ease off people's shoulders, because the Ice Rod hunt is always a crazy thing. So we'll just see what's in Skull Woods and what is in Thieves Town. And Joss is now doing the South Shore checks. Gonna get to the below the bridge, which is probably gonna get Samaria, is most likely, but we'll see. If Joss misses Samaria now, that might be a huge change in all the others runners' favor. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So I guess the question is, what should we expect with the current pickups? I mean, we're missing hammer. Ooh, mirror. Mirror in Thieves Town, that is big, so Mr. Ed will be able to get Fire Rod on his first trip up to Death Mountain. I have not seen Mr. Ed go up Death Mountain yet, and doesn't have the hook shot that was in Western Death Mountain. And yeah, Homemade Beer doing a bomb jump to get a compass in Skull Woods. Mr. Ed doing the bottom of Thieves Town. Joss doing water walking in order to get to the, well, either to Zora or below the bridge. And we'll just see what happens here. So the only item I saw was mirror. I think I saw some rupees as well. Got one small key, so that means that it is possible that there's an item in the big key chest. I definitely saw the big key with regards to Thieves Town. So Mr. Ed will just defeat the boss, and considering what happens, we'll see if he wants to dip back in. And of course, Blind doing his joke of the week. I don't know if it's of the week, but the random joke. I'll see it on the next runners to see if it's funny. And talking about the next run is to go off to do blind. Ooh, hammer! Hammer in Thieves Town. That is crazy. Mr. Ed 3 can now just go right back into go right back into Thieves Town and do that final check if he so chooses. He might choose to skip it in order to save some time. So Cape and Lantern. I mean, I don't think it's an Agassiz at this stage. But yeah, that means that Thieves Town is stacked. There was the Ice Rod, Mirror, and Boots. Ice Rod, Mirror, and Hammer in Thieves Town. So it's good that everybody's going here. Just finding out it's kind of a scam from King Zora. And Mr. Ed is doing the digging game. Blind, you know, wanted to get across the bridge. That's why it was Hammer on Blind, and just bombs on the digging game. Sorry, LJ was. Oh yes, Lumberjack was money. Yes, that was checked by Joss. And Joss is going back in. Mr. Ed 3 is doing Smith Chain right now. So we'll see what comes of that. But does not have the mirror from Thieves Town. So is... Wait, what? Sorry, mirror. Mirror wasn't Thieves Town then. Okay. Well, somehow Mr. Ed skipped the mirror. Did he? No, it wasn't on the trackers, my apologies. Yeah, Fake Powder 2 by the looks of it. So it's just gonna do Smith Chain now. I got confused by a second, thank you viewers. And we'll be able to see what the Smiths are. And all the other checks. Fake Powder as well. Well, you'd probably call them breadsmiths after that. I think that's what they call it after the game. And we'll be able to see what Fake Powder gives us. Fake Powder happens when you switch from Cane of Samaria to Mushroom on 0 magic power. The Mushroom seems to be a powder to the game, so you get something back, and that just gave a 20 rupees. For Mr. Ed 3. And I think what's probably missing now from everything is bow, flippers, medallions, flute. We can actually skip using Misery Mire in order to get to Desert Palace if needed, but Desert Palace is only a pendant, so we'll be able to see about that. Pod is Green Pendant, which is, you know, a bad and a good scenario because it's got a lot of checks. You might want to go in there anyways, so you kind of want it to be a crystal. But at the same time, if you skip it and there's nothing in it, then it's going to save you a ton of time. So people can take that gamble. I did not see what's in Cave 45, so if anybody wants to enlighten me. Mr. Ed is going into the Grove again. Just 10 hours here. Just a blue rupee there. Thank you ever so much. So let's just see. Okay. Basically everybody's near or in Thieves Town. Signums has gotten his first crystal. Homemade Beer got the first crystal as well, and Joss is the only one who hasn't defeated Thieves Town yet, although Joss has done a lot of the Death Mountain checks. And just a shield on the second part of Smith's Chain. Okay, so yeah. Sorry, We'll see. I don't see anybody checking TT Big yet, but we'll see. Sigmungs might necessarily do that. I haven't seen what's on TT Big, and that is Hype Cave that has flippers and bombos in Hype Cave. Okay, so that Hype Cave, I'll go 7 out of 10 for that. I'll agree with chat there. And now we get to see, and it's just a shield. So nothing missed out by skipping that check. With flippers in Hype Cave, it's possible this will work out for some of the other runners. At the moment, a lot of the runners have done a similar route. Some have done Skull Woods before doing Thieves Town, at least doing those checks. The only major difference so far, Homemade Beers sorting out the fake powder glitch, is that Joss has done Death Mountain, which has given Joss the hook shot specifically, and I'm not sure what else yet. I can double check my notes on that. I think it's just the hook shot. Time for ice. I mean, yeah. With the current setup, Mr. Ed could do ice, and talking about Death Mountain, Mr. Ed is now doing Old Man, and is going to get hookshot and start the whole trek throughout the whole of Death Mountain, which is actually going to get him the Fire Rod, as chat has said. So with Fire Rod, that is going to open the game up a little bit. What we're still missing, Bombos is TR. We haven't seen what Misery Maya is left. Flute would be needed for Misery Maya. Bow isn't necessary. It is necessary logically silvers for defeating Ganon. However, these runners, a lot of them would be prepared enough to do Ganon silverless. So it isn't necessary for the game, as much as I can see via the pendants. Yeah, Ether, Quake, Flute, maybe Book. If Flute isn't necessary, then Book will be. But yeah. Mr. Ed has picked up his hookshot. And Signums will probably get the flippers quite soon, going into K45. Getting the red boomerang. Because the red boomerang has a particle effect attached to it, the red boomerang is actually slightly slower than the blue boomerang. So that's why that's why always better to have the blue boomerang. Mr. Ed is going into Tower of Hera. Homemade Beer has picked up the flippers and the bombos. So everybody must have specifically been in Hype Cave. Interesting. With the items here, I can see that being a play for Mr. Ed. Yeah, that seems to be both the plays, unless something different is happening. Homemade Beer is probably going to, is going to get the hook shot. We'll see if Homemade Beer continues along, does Tower of Hera. The only if on that one would be, you know, does Mr. Ed 3 continue on in Death Mountain? Because he does not know that Fire Rod is on the ledge. And that's a clean Moldome fight, second crystal. Didn't see anything else in Tower of Hera. And we'll see if Mr. Ed 3 needs to go back down in order to try to find another item. No, Mr. Ed continues, which, given that we don't have many items left, might be the correct decision. We'll just have to see. Joss is doing Swamp Palace, and we'll be able to see what's there. So that should be good. And Signums is going up the mountain. Mr. Ed 3 is down in Spiral Cave. So, just a red groupie that was already seen. I'm just seeing if there is possibly an item in the bottom. We'll just have to see. Now, what Joss is probably going to do with the Cane of Samaria is a trick called Dive It Down, which is a way that Joss doesn't need to clear out the water and can just open up the chest as normal, and Joss gets 300 rupees from that. Going to the back, Joss did not seem to check left side swamp, so we'll just have to see. And Signums has found out about the hookshot and is now going to pick it up. And Homemade Beer is facing off against Moldome. Which can always be tough because you can always be not tough in this fight. Does it cleanly with the hammer. Whilst Joss is going into the Argus fight. Of course, without a tier 2 sword or a tier 3 sword, hammer is the best item here, so Joss is effectively menu swapping. Yes, exactly, Robs. Menu swapping in order to defeat Argus. I didn't say this before, but our trackers for tonight are Jinxie Girl and Robs. Absolutely wonderful that they're tracking for us. Of course, give them a round of applause. We couldn't do it without you guys. Well, without you two. So, let me see. And without the runners as well, of course. So, let's just see. Joss is in the final stage of Argus. Which he's choosing to use the hammer for. And Signums is, I think they call this the coffee break room, because you've got 40 seconds where you can just wait for the tiles to pile on. Hookshot Cave is coming. Yes, Mr. Ed is in Hookshot Cave, so with the mirror we'll be able to get that fire rod, which will probably, if Mr. Ed knows what the medallion is for Turtle Rock, lead him this way. Oh, and it was the big key that was in that chest. Mr. Ed picking up the fire rod that most likely Signums and Homemade Beer will be getting in a little bit, which is the big difference between these three runners, Homemade Beer, Signums, and Mr. Ed 3, and what Joss has done, because Joss has, you know, basically double dipped Death Mountain. And Mr. Ed 3 just straight into Turtle Rock. There are quite a few checks here, I think about 5 or 6. We'll see if it gives anything that's necessary. We still have medallions, we still have flute. Swords. Yes. Of course, a sword is necessary. I might be wrong on this, so forgive me. I believe Master Sword is the least you can defeat Ganon with, unless it's a swordless mode. So all runners should need a sword as well. But I can't 100% remember that. Yep, thank you, Robs. And Powder, which is another fetch quest, is in Turtle Rock. So yes. We'll see if any of those are given, and Signums is facing off against Mini Moldorm. Mini Moldorm? Moldorm 1. Same as Joss, they're basically high-fiving each other, although one's got a Moldorm on their tail as well. And yeah, definitely thank you, chat, and everybody who supports us here at Speed Gaming Live. It's absolutely amazing. You know, it's wonderful. And yes, Signums and Joss getting their third crystal for Joss, second crystal for Signums. So Joss is ahead on crystals from doing Swamp Palace. You know, others are further along in Turtle Rock, so it still seems as though it's anybody's game here. Or maybe opening up Turtle Rock. Signums is down Spiral Cave. And yes, it seems as though everybody's doing the same thing here. So there's 0 divergence, and we'll see what happens. When there's 0 divergence like this, it's really... what really matters is, you know, how good the runners are at doing specific bits, how good are they at defeating the monsters and defeating the bosses. And we'll be able to see that and compare that in full force here today. See if, you know, any of them will be able to make up the difference. It does seem, though, as though, yes, Signums and Joss are... Signums is in Paradox Cave, and Joss is just going onto a ledge here in order to get the Fire Rod. So they're a little bit behind Turtle Rock at the moment, although they've done other checks, of course. And instead, mirroring into the Light World for the cave there. And it didn't look as though it's anything important. And that is the third and final shield in Turtle Rock. The other 2, I know there was one on the end of Blacksmith's chain. I don't know where the third one was, so we'll be able to see on that. Okay. Ah, yes, it is a vanilla shield. I didn't think because it wasn't the mirror shield. Yes, definitely. You are right. One shield was in Thieves Town, Big Chest. Okay, thank you, Chelsea. Yeah. Even if it isn't. And now what we get to see what's in Laser Bridge. heart, a key. We'll see if Mr. Ed chooses to basically have decides to have a safety, and he chooses not to. So there doesn't seem to be much in Turtle Rock. However, this is a crystal, meaning that it is necessary in order to do. So, not too much time lost here. And Mr. Ed 3 is going off to fight off against Trinex. Signums is in Hookshot Cave, going to get Fire Rod soon. Homemade beer. Yes, that's the Light World version, and so everybody is in Turtle Rock apart from Signums, who will be in Turtle Rock shortly. Mr. Ed 3 will get out of Turtle Rock, having various options. Those options being the back of Swamp Palace. Sorry. Well, can do Swamp Palace. He could also, in theory, do the back of Skull Woods. Ice Palace is open. The only not possible open, because it needs the flute, is Misery Mire. So we're on flute lookout, and possibly a pendant as well. Never know. But yes. So Signums is going in. Mr. Ed is in the second phase of Trinex. And we'll just need to see. And that's just another heart for Mr. Ed and his third crystal. So we'll be able to see what happens. Now let's see if Homemade Beer uses a safety here. Which is just going out of the dungeon and back in again. And chooses not to as well. On 11 hearts, it does make a little bit of sense doing that, I think, so... Yep. They're all high-fiving. And Mr. Ed here is going to do Spike Cave. Which is logically behind Cape or Cane. So we'll be able to see what happens here. And Homemade Beer is now facing off against Trinex. Just 20 in here, but always good to know that, you know, it's just a 20. Okay. So where's Mr. Ed going now? That is the question. Finally free from Turtle Rock. Okay. Yeah. Let me see. Okay. The Green Palace, the Green Pendant is Palace of Darkness as well, so that might come into play. And Mr. Ed is going into the back of Skull Woods, so we'll see what happens here. And this room that Mr. Ed was just in, I believe it's one of the only rooms in the whole game where the positions, initial starting positions of the monsters are completely randomized. Part of the, well, yeah. Otherwise, the actual mob positions are completely standard. Where they move from there, you know, can be a completely different thing. But Yeah. Mr. Ed is doing the back of Skullwoods. Joss is facing off against Trinex right now. Signums is still in Turtle Rock. And Homemade Beer. Ooh, Homemade Beer is going Ice Palace? So, I mean, these are all crystals. Makes sense to go through them. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if somebody can pull ahead from this. At the moment, if anybody's slightly ahead, it would be Joss, but we just need to wait and see what's happening here. Yeah. So Mr. Ed is now facing off against Morphula. Using hammer strats. Without any sort of extra magic, it seems. Oh! Nobody's even gotten a bottle yet. I wonder where the bottles are. Possibly all in GT. We'll be able to see. And there, the fourth crystal is for Mr. Ed is here, and that is Skullwoods. Homemade Beer is making his way through Ice Palace. Now what Homemade Beer is doing now is a skip to the Ice Palace Big Key Chest using the Cane of Samaria, which just gives 10 arrows. Saves a lot of time out of this dungeon. Normally you've got to loop around quite a few floors. And Mr. Ed is possibly checking yeah, he's checking the front of Skullwoods. To see if there's any items left in here, which we know there isn't anything in here. Joss is checking Spike Cave, which has nothing as of yet, but always feels a bit good to have that safety there. I mean, a bow would be necessary for Ped. There's still items missing out here, so just need to see what's happening here. I mean, still, I guess the only thing that can be said for certain is that Aga is definitely out. Homemade Beer is now facing off against Igor, which, well, very well done. That is a very good Igor fight. If you let even one go away, it can be very hard to clear up from that. So that is Homemade Beer's fourth crystal. Joss is going into Skullwoods, and Mr. Ed is probably going to join in Skullwoods. That was a quick... Homemade Beer is going back into Ice Palace for a few checks, possibly Ice Tea Room. Again, nothing was really seen with regards to Ice Palace. Let me see. Mr. Ed is going to do Swamp Palace. Most likely, so a lot of checks have just been done before. And Homemade Beer is doing the skip again. This will be interesting. If it's nothing, it's effectively, you know, time that's spent in this. If it's something, though, you know, it could give the edge over the fellow runners. We just need to see what happens. Yeah. Oh, sorry, book and arrows found in Ice Palace. Okay, so book was in Ice Palace. Okay, got it. That could be big, in case it was a pet seed or something was in Desert Palace. Yeah. And yes, everybody has cape. Okay, so Joss is facing off against Mothra. Signums is facing off against Trinex. Mr. Ed 3 is going through Swamp Palace, and so is Homemade Beer. So these are a lot of the same checks. Swamp Palace and Ice Palace have both been done before. We're running out of checks. If I was going to take a personal guess, well, the checks left, as much as I see, we've got Saha's Closet, we have Eastern Palace, we have Desert Palace, we have Pod, we have Pyramid Ledge, we have where the normal Quake Medallion is given, and that should be it. So there should be some new plays soon, and we'll be able to see where everybody is. Joss at the moment is on 5 crystals, which is above everybody else. Signums has defeated Trinex for his 4th crystal. So we'll just need to see what happens. Yeah. Because any one of these checks will take a lot of time, and it means that wherever they go, it could be make or break for them in the run. Left side of Swamp. Mr. Ed is doing that now. As far as I know, nobody's done left side of Swamp left yet, so we'll see if there's anything in here as well. Yes, you're absolutely right. There's bombs, and the second item in left side Swamp, which it could be big, is... it's the big key. I was... just... So, we wait another second in order to try and see what's in Swamp Palace. Know whether there is anything there. And Homemade Beer and Miss Ed. Close to high-fiving one another there. Big Key is indeed big. Yes, this could mean it all. The whole race could be based upon this next chess. It could. It could. What is it? Oh, just 10 arrows. Phew. That could have given Miss Ed the break he needed. Currently, all the runners are close to one another. Joss is going to do Ice Palace, it seems. Signums and Mr. Ed 3 are in Swamp Palace, and so is Homemade Beer. Ice Palace is the last check for Joss, which will give the book, if Joss does indeed check that chest. We'll just have to see. And Homemade Beer is doing the menu boss, known as Argus. Yeah. Again, just a lot of repeat checks here. And again, we haven't seen a bow. A bow is logically needed to defeat Ganon. Well, silvers are logically needed to defeat Ganon. It doesn't mean that, you know, the runners will be trying to pick them up. We might need Ether or Quake, and Homemade Beer has defeated Argus with all the menuing, whilst Mr. Ed is doing this. Although bows would be useful. Ether or Quake for the possibility of Misery Maya. The flute is needed for Misery Maya, 100%. And that's about it. Another sword. Yeah. So we'll just see. And Jack is spelling it out. Thank you ever so much, Robs. So we'll just see. Now, where does Mr. Egg go here? Probably to clean up Ice Palace, but we'll just have to see. And we'll just see who comes out of this with the 6 crystals. I mean, imagine if this was 6-6. It'd be a lot better than it is now. Mr. Ed is going to give us a new check, which is Pyramid Ledge. So we'll be able to see what's there. I did not catch a glimpse of that. Bow is necessary for Ped, yes. But Peg could be silvers. That there's no bow in this seed so far is a good indication against Ped. At the moment, everything's up in the air. Mr. Ed is doing Dark Cross. This check has not been done. So this will be interesting to see what's here. Actually, Hyrule Castle has not been done. So these will be some interesting checks from Mr. Ed 3 here. Yes. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. So that chest was a key. It means that next chest will most likely have something. And Joss is facing off against Igor right now. Maybe is checking the tablet, Bombo's tablet, and possibly going to Desert Palace. So this will be interesting. Piece of heart there. So it'll be interesting to see. Didn't seem as though there was anything on Bombos. Yeah, I was looking a bit at escape, so didn't notice that. Homemade Beer is going up to Desert Palace, and Mr. Ed is making it out of back of escape. It was meh. Okay, thank you. So these are some new checks here in Desert Palace. The first item is 20 rupees. So we'll see where the second item is. Boss key on torch. So this Desert Palace was boots locked. And Mr. Ed making the plan to go to Pod, which Joss is as well. I'd say they'd use a bottle glitch, but they don't have bottles. the key in the big key chest. So homemade beer will probably be going to the right. Signums is probably menuing. Piece of heart, 20 rupees, and a bottle in Saha's closet. The bottle could lead to Sick Kid. There's still a lot of checks left, and the second item is 20 rupees, nothing in Desert Palace. Hopefully we'll get a pet check at some stage. That will be good to see. Just now seeing what's in Palace of Darkness. Before people... I mean, this means that Miss Ed has gone against just dipping Ice Palace. Joss already dipping Ice Palace. We'll see what Signums does. Flute lead, yes. So we'll see what happens. There are quite a few checks in Pod. And now Joss mirroring out to do Eastern Palace. There are 3 checks in Eastern Palace, which in the vanilla game are the bow, the heart container, and the 100 rupees. We'll see if any of these checks are correct. No, we haven't seen mushroom or catfish yet. Let's just see what's happening here. Okay. Signums is deciding to go into Ice Palace, it seems. Yes. And Homemade Beer is finishing off Skullwoods, which means that Homemade Beer will have all the crystals he can do, same as Joss. Oh, so there was a... Oh, there's the bow in Eastern Palace, so that means Eastern Palace is now full clearable. Yeah, let's see. And that puts Homemade Beer on 6 crystals. So the bow in Eastern Palace might be a good investment. We'll see if Mr. Ed chooses to full clear. Let me see. Only 1 item has been seen in East Palace so far. Head, here we go. That's dead then. Okay, thank you. Boo. Chat wanted a pet seed for sure. And Piece of Heart is the second item. So Mr. Ed decides to mirror out. And we'll be able to see what's in Pod again. Joss mirrors out as well. So, I mean, Pod has the most density, so most likely there's still mushroom as well. So with the bow, this means that the right side of Palace of Darkness is possible. And there's still Sick Kid. So it's possible Sick Kid is the answer to everything. Just a key there. Oh, and Flute and Pod. Flute and Pod, Mr. Ed is straight out. And is probably going to check Misery Maya. And Joss is about to check the Flute and Pod. And will Joss be making the same decision? Joss just saves and quits. Okay. We're getting a check for Mushroom from Homemade Beer. And Signum's about to face off against Igor. Mr. Ed activating the flute. And let me see. Yes, this is a potential. Well, it isn't potential go mode yet. It isn't no mode because a sword is still needed. The medallion may very well be Bombos, and Sick Hip was holding the Cane of Burner. Bombs from Catfish. Another thing that hasn't been checked yet, at least it hasn't gone into, they possibly checked it, was the ledge. Also Graveyard ledge as well. So Joss is just going in. Saying that, this is, if the tablet's right, this is an effective go mode, and it is! Oh, whoa! Most likely there'll be a sword on GT that the runners can get, so I'm gonna say it, this is effective go mode. Sorry, Quake? Did I just hallucinate a Bombos? My apologies, so we're still waiting on Quake then. Which would make sense why they've fluted out. It's Bombos for Maya. Yeah, I read Bombos myself. But yeah, so Mr. Ed gets some free blue glue. Yeah. Basically stocks up right here. Homemade Beer is doing Back of Escape. Signums is still doing Ice Palace, and Mr. Ed goes into Misery Maya. Yes, it's very interesting. But yeah, this is Go Mode Swamp right now. Well, Go Mode, but kind of not Go Mode. From Mr. Ed right here. Just refilling on bottles and going into Swamp itself. Signums is finishing up Ice Palace. And let's see if Misery Maya is Godseed, meaning that the big chi is in the first chest that they check. Which should be in the northeast of Misery Maya. Which Mr. Ed 3 is coming up to right now. Is it a God Seed? No, it isn't. Just having a slight bit of trouble with the enemies. They're not playing nice today. Mr. Ed checking another 2 checks here. Just a key, so Mr. Ed has to continue throughout Misery Maya. Signum's doing fake powder and smith chain. Homemade beer is making his way to, I believe, Eastern Palace and Pod. No, we don't know the locations of any other swords. The only sword we know is Bottom of the Well. They all have that same sword from Kakariko. And Mr. Ed's going to have to do the Misery Maya Big Key Room. Swords cannot be in Desert Palace because both items have been checked in Desert Palace. So EP was 3 as well then. Okay, got it. And that's the big key in the normal big key chest. Mr. Ed is just gonna complete, well, try to face off against Vitreous here. With Joss just tailing behind. Although the difference between these two runners right now is that Mr. Ed has not completed Ice Palace whilst Joss has. When Joss is done with Misery Maya, Joss will make it up to Ganon's Tower and start the climb. When Joss starts the climb, we can do the big key guessing game, where it's on everybody's honor, but people can choose their locations 1 to 22 to guess where the big key is. Catfish isn't a sword. Catfish has been checked, to clarify. Pyramid Fairy and Talrim and GT haven't. Not yet. So Mr. Ed is now facing off against Vitreous. Joss checking the... Oh! Joss has checked the Cane of Samaria chest and big chest, and it was the Master Sword. And yes, saluting, definitely saluting the bird. That is major. Joss could, through choice, just search for the big key and not even search for the search for silvers. If Joss gets one more sword, it's a lot easier against Ganon. So this is absolutely big. Mr. Ed is clearing up on Vitreous nicely. So Mr. Ed has gotten his 6th crystal for Misery Maya. And exactly enough arrows, yes. Thank you, Chip. Mr. Ed is still searching for a sword, so he may decide to go mode IP, or he may decide to search more in IP for that sword. Knowing the skip that Mr. Ed took on Misery Maya, most likely this is a go mode IP, and Mr. Ed is buying bombs and arrows. Homemade beer is now in Misery Maya, and Signums has not dipped Palace of Darkness yet in order to find the flute. Graveyard Ledge has not been checked before. We'll see what is here. Just bombs. And Joss is now facing off against Vitreous. Final phase, and that is it. That is Joss's 7th crystal. And yeah, if you want to predict for honor, what number the big key is, go ahead right now, because Joss is going up to Ganon's tower. Making the climb. So, let me see. Signums is checking the mushroom, getting the 2nd bottle. Joss is deciding to go through using East Death Mountain and Paradox Cave, which might be slightly quicker. Homemade Beer is in Misery Mire, which will be the last crystal dungeon. So is Mr. Ed in the last crystal dungeon, but for him, it is Ice Palace. Signums still doesn't know where the flute is, which is a big check in itself. We'll see if he can find a way to catch up. Joss is going through using the Turtle Rock portal in order to get into the Dark World. And we'll just have to see. There are various strategies with regards to going through Ganon's tower. Yeah. So we'll see which one is employed. Whether Joss decides to go right side or east side first, or decides to, go left side, but then swing across to right side when he gets a key, for instance. We'll just have to see all of that. And okay, yep. So Beer skipped the sword as well. Ether is first. Bombs is second. Mirror's out and is going for the left side, it seems like. And third check is on Torch, which is a key that Joss got. I can count each check as their own. Fourth is a key. And again, if my trackers want to, check. Fifth, 300 rupees. Sixth is a key. And Homemade Beer is now facing off against Victorious. Seventh is a piece of heart. Eighth is 20 rupees. And Homemade Beer is in a spot of Bartha here, but should have a potion to dispose of. Ninth is bombs. And we'll just keep continuing here with GT. We'll just have to see. And that was a key. Yeah. So that will be 10th then. 11th is a key. Again, some of these are behind rocks that are certain possibly, so if my counting is off, let me know, trackers, please. So there's a room here with 4 checks. And Homemade Beer is ready for the climb. 13th Quake, 14th Compass. Okay, it seems as though 15th is the big key, so can I just check with that? Yeah, congratulations, Nistria, for getting the big key right this time. Joss is making the is now making the climb up. And yeah. And Signums is doing Eastern Palace. There have been no other swords in GT so far, and that was 15 checks. So we'll see. I mean, Mr. Ed will have to keep going, even if he finds the big key first. He'll have to keep going until he finds that sword, climbing the whole of GT. So we'll just see what happens. Joss might check a few chests in order to try to get a third one. Joss going through Cannonball, the Cannonball room. Decides not to take a ferry on the way up. And it seems like Mr. Ed is going down the same route as Joss. Definitely a test of skill and strength, the gauntlet. Especially with only Master Sword. Joss is making quite a good run of it. And wait, yeah. So they do, Joss and Mr. Ed both have red mail, which should help their ascent a little bit. Joss is now going to do Lammo. See if this is done well. First Lammo's down good, and just need to get the second and third. And he does do. Homemade beer opens up Ganon's tower, and Mr. Ed is just continuing. Let's see what's here. Just choosing to get the extra energy. And thanks everybody for the support. It's lovely when people support the channel here. Let me see. Yeah, Mr. Ed just keeping on going. Joss continuing up the climb. Mr. Ed has now got the GT big key. Oh, and Beer has not got the bow. Signums is about to get the flute. The bow being in the Eastern Palace. So this will be a difference. Joss is still going through. And Joss did get a third sword in the way up. So this is skipping other checks. So this is effectively bearable and falls to Moldorm too. Mr. Ed going up against Armos Knights, not knowing about this second sword in the climb, and just choosing to get the 3 chests that are locked behind this boss. And a blue boomerang in the Moldorm chest. Seems like there was nothing in those 3 checks. Signums is doing more in pod, looking for that sword most likely. And Joss is now facing off against Saga 2. Homemade Beer has got his big key. And let me see. And Joss has defeated Agatu. I didn't see the count on that. It seemed quite quick. So that's good. Joss is facing off against, well, is soon to face off against Ganon. So let's see. And Ganon's advice today is a duck, a sheep, and a rooster. So we'll see that. Let me see. So Joss is on the first stage of Ganon, using the blue cane. It seems now on the third stage. Let's see if Joss is able to get the torch glitch off. And then it'll be quite a few swing attacks in order to win this, really. So there was a bow in Dark Palace. Interesting to find. And Joss is doing the spins here. And has managed the torch glitch successfully. And Mr. Ed is in the climb, and so is Homemade Beer. Hasn't found a sword. The third sword was on the climb, on the GT climb. Robs is finishing here. Okay, yeah, Beer's doing a mimic clip here, because he doesn't have the bow. Trying to clip the mimic out of bounds so it counts as though there's no no enemies in the room. And Joss has defeated Ganon and is going across the bridge. And get your GGs in the chat. And he is finishing. Going into place, and that is with a time of 1:26.25. So get your GGs in the chat. And now I'm just gonna get it up. I need. One thing I thought I had on was where all the runners are, so my apologies, everybody. I need to know where the runners are so I can see what the times were. And GG's to you, Joss.
Thank you. I don't know if it's too early to say GG's to everybody else, but yeah, that was a race.
It definitely was. A lot of people were doing a lot of extra checks in this seed, and it seemed really hard to find the final piece of the puzzle, which was the flute. I'm just gonna check now how the standings of everybody was in that, and then I'll ask you some questions. So just give me a second. But yeah, thank you. Yep, Joss, you were second behind Skipsy in the race, so you were second with that time. So one thing I was thinking of, what made you go up to Death Mountain so early? Because you were the only person on the stream that actually went up to Death Mountain early to get the hook shot. And do you think it helped you, or do you think it harmed you?
I went up early just because I wanted to unlock the save quit point, and then I'm like, well, I'll just check Spec Rock because I'm there. I think it might have actually hurt me a little bit. Had I had the mirror, I could have gotten the fire rod a lot sooner, and I think that would have sped me up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, it did seem like that with the fire rod. To clarify, the person first had a time of 1:21:06. To clarify there. It seemed like it was a lot of just searching for flute and pod. How did you decide to go there? And well, what was your thought process behind that?
Well, I was going to just do Crystal Dungeons until I had no Crystal Dungeons left, and then Eastern and Pod was just the densest place left, so that's where I went first before Desert, because I could have also full cleared Desert.
Yeah, okay, just seeing up here. And yeah, Mr. Ed 3 is doing the Ganon fight and doing it with Cain of Samaria at the moment. I touched upon this briefly at the start, but yeah, how did you find the seed? What were your thoughts about it?
I mean, it was pretty fast, but it was not a good seed. I mean, being on Fighter Sword pretty much the whole time is not my favorite.
To clarify, we do not know where that fourth sword is. Everybody else at the moment is on Master Sword. They did not find the sword that you found that was on the Cain of Samaria big chest.
Interesting. Did anybody find the silvers in Pod?
Well, let me think. No, nobody found the silvers. Wait. Oh, Signums has found the silvers now. Well, a little, basically a little while ago, but that was when you were finishing. Everybody else hasn't. So Signums actually did.
Had I had a potion, I would have clipped into the back and just done all of Pod, but with only a fairy. I know I can do the fairy revival for the bottle unlock, but I always seem to fail it, so I just didn't even want to risk it.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I saw, it seemed as though you just did Swamp Palace quite quickly, and what that meant was that you were always slightly ahead of all of the other runners. The Fire Rod knowledge might have helped you as well. Again, you didn't dip Desert Palace, so that saved you a little bit of time there. It did, as much as I saw, it always seemed as though you had something to do with regards to your seed up until Flute. Would that be correct to say?
I would say so, yeah. There was always something for me to do, and I mean, a couple of times I did a couple of extra overworld checks when I really should have just been going to Crystal Dungeons, and it never really paid off for me, so, lesson learned for next time, I guess.
See, it does seem as though Signums is now making the climb up to Ganon's Tower. And yes, Mr. Ed and Homemade Beer are fighting Ganon after they defeat them, which get your GGs ready. I'm sure if they want to, we can grab them in. Yeah, what was the how did you feel about Boots, by the way? Because that was a very early that was a very early check. It was given by Shovel that was then in Grove. Oh, yes, GG. Yeah, GG to Mr. Ed 3.
I'm always okay with early Boots.
And Mr. Ed 3 has finished with a time of 1:33 and 18. That is 4th out of all of our runners. Yeah, Mr. Ed, if you're here, you can drop in whenever you want. And welcome, GG, Mr. Ed 3. How did you find the seat?
Just entertaining. I thought actually some of my sequence breaks, well, actually my main sequence break in Kane, was going to pay off. When I went to the mountain, I was basically able to do it in one trip. And then quickly I realized that this was going to be a sword go mode, and that's the reason why I was so hesitant to go to Ice and Mire, only because if I just had one more sword upgrade, life would have been a lot easier. But no, it's had to be stressful right to the end. Nothing like full clearing the GT basement for nothing. And having to stress out and find out too that silvers are in pod when I bailed out. So hooray me.
So yeah, just trying to figure out the route, and Homemade Beer is still facing off. I mean, yeah. Let me see. So you did Dark Death Mountain and Death Mountain in one shot because you found the mirror itself being in... That was in Thieves Town.
Yep.
I mean, I guess the question is, where do you think you could save time on that? Because as much as I saw, when you found the mirror, because at that point I had already seen that Fire Rod was actually on the ledge. You know, I was personally thinking, okay, all the other runners might make some time from this. Where do you think time might have been lost, or was it just unlucky, or extra checks, or what?
Part of it, I think, was extra checks and sequencing. Like take for example, I originally had a plan. Yeah. By the way, Josh, GG's to you.
Thanks, GG's to you.
My original plan was when I did Dark Death Mountain and was able to clear out Turtle Rock. I was originally going to do Skull Woods, and I was going to do the North check, and then just something simple as not checking Bumper Ledge. I immediately went to Graveyard Ledge because I was going to tie Bumper Ledge to Graveyard Ledge to Mushroom Turn-In, because at that point I'd fake powdered to Catfish, and just even something simple as me forgetting about Bumper Ledge just kind of like gaffed me up a little bit. So I went back to just check Bumper Ledge, and then even though it really isn't that big of a deal, I just basically said, you know what, at some point I gotta find the flute. I hope it's just not at Mushroom at this point. I'm gonna isolate Catfish and just kind of be done. I think my routing was very, very poor. And that's something between the routing and the execution. I mean, you know, you look like a great player when you have, you know, tempered sword or gold sword silvers with all sorts of safeties. But when you kind of play a little conservative, it kind of is a little iffy. So I think basically between my routing and suspect execution, I just leaked time everywhere, and I just felt it. That's why I wanted to go to Pod and Eastern to see if basically it was going to be, if I found a sword, I was going to bail out. I was going to do Mire and Ice. If I found the flute, I was going to bail out and take my chances in GT being there one, and thank God there was one. But it was just a slow leak, and ultimately...
Imagine finding a sword.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, welcome, Homemade Beer. Thank you, and yeah, welcome, and GG to you. You finished with a time of 1:35:49.
Yo, thanks,
and
GG's.
That places you 7th. Let me think. How was your experience? From my memory, you did Skull Woods before you did Thieves Town, didn't you?
I dipped it, yeah.
That didn't play too much into it, actually. I noticed that you were doing... What happened, to clarify to you, is that Joss was the only one that did something a bit different. Joss went up Death Mountain and actually got the hook shot and went down to Swamp Palace. Used Signums and Mr. Ed. All three of you basically stayed off of the mountain, eventually making your way to Thieves Town and Swamp Palace, to clarify. Yeah. But yeah, let me just think. Yeah, so, yeah, again, how did you find it is probably the best question to ask.
Well, I knew Thieves Town Big Chest probably had something after finding the hammer. I was like, nah, let's just say it doesn't today, you know? And then I felt pretty good up through Turtle Rock. And then it was a clown show after that. I spent an hour looking for the next item, so...
Thieves Town Big Chest. I have it marked down here that the mirror was one of the items in Thieves Town. Was that the one in Thieves Town Big Chest?
No, that was in the attic.
No, that was Vera's attic. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
it was just a shield. Oh, okay, never mind then. I thought it was a bow or something. Wait, where was the bow? Eastern or something. Someone said Eastern was the bow.
One in Eastern, one in Pod.
Yeah,
Nice
one
to
in
see you
Eastern.
didn't get one.
No. Why would I get a bow?
Who gets a bow here?
I really thought about climbing GT as soon as I found the big key. And looked for a sword in the climb and then YOLO'd it, and I should have on this seed, but I mean, I was just so angry by the end that I didn't even have a sword. I'm like, oh god, I got to do fighter sword Vidi. Like, what the heck, dude?
I
Hey, Beer, nice collection rate, by the way.
It's 3 off, but you know,
Well, same as mine.
nice. Yeah, but you got a bow.
Yeah, well, that's all the difference.
I did notice everybody right before Vitreous was just... So you all did your mushroom checks, which gave you a blue potion, and then you bought a blue potion on top of that. And it was just, for some of you, you needed it, because otherwise, you know, you would have gone down. But it was close on everybody, seeing everybody's individual Vitreous fight. It's like, are they gonna go there? Are they gonna use the potion? It was absolutely crazy.
Oh man, imagine having Tempered Sword. Amazing.
I mean, I at least had Master Sword for Vidi. That was the only saving grace.
Yeah, that's pretty free, because then you can use the cape and just spam. Like, that's why it was just so terrible having to set up spins with the fighter sword. It's like 12 spins per eye or something. It's silly.
And then there was menu Argus.
Oh yeah. Argus
Oh gosh. Let me think. Yeah, I was looking at everybody, so some bits I missed, but I believe you had a really clean Ice Palace Igor fight. If I remember correctly. Yeah, that was just amazing to look at.
Yeah, you gotta fire the puffs into the left corner to get the really clean chain shots on the fire rod. That's something that people don't do usually.
Signums is now facing off against Ganon. The only geometry that I've really noticed, it's a 3 to start off with, then a 2, and then a 1.
Not if you're me, if you decide to spam the 2 golden bees and generate immense amounts of lag.
Oh, that's why everybody was saying about bees. I wasn't noticing. I was just like, bees? Bees? Why are there bees?
I had one of my friends, Mindium, which, by the way, shout out to Mindium, 3rd member of Radical Memers, along with myself and Homemade Beer. He kicked our butts pretty good, so shout out to him. GG's to him. But he had a really nice clip when I ended up doing like either Waterfall Fairy or Pyramid Fairy, and I ended up getting 3 bees, and I spammed him during that fight, and the lag was astronomical. And I can only imagine what would happen with the 4th. It probably crashed my emulator.
So yeah, I should probably say the results so far. Skipsy was first, Joss second, as we said. Me and Diem was third at 128.48. Then Mr. was fourth. Sheer fifth at 134.29. RD Walsh V sixth, 134.48. Then you Homemade Beer, and then Akuhesh, which is 136.55, and Lana Bean 142.41, and we're just seeing on where Signums will be in all of this, and hopefully we can get it in. And yeah, Signum's the only one with the silver arrows.
And a nice tempered sword. Well, I guess
Yeah.
Josh had a tempered, so that's nice too.
You know, I even thought about mimic clipping.
What do you mean thought about?
just
I thought we
just
were the
to
radical
see.
memers.
Yeah, well, I actually tried playing, smart, and then it's like, whatever.
Let's just
don't
see.
kick me out of the team
Ooh.
now, Beer.
I'm not the team captain, so.
And Signums has defeated Ganon.
And GG's.
And yeah, get your GGs ready. And Signums is, let me just check, it's 145.06, and that means that Signums is 10th. On here it says 145.05. So, yeah, GG's to Signums, and we'll see if Signums wants to come on and perhaps, say something about this match. I mean...
Where was the bow and pod, by the way? I was curious.
I wasn't noticing. Signums is the only person who knows. We need Signums here for the extra bow.
I really thought about doing a little bit of the back to look for a sword or a bow, because I know that having a bow would have been faster for GT. Not, obviously don't need it, but I probably lost a solid minute and a half trying to mimic clip.
Mm.
I really, really didn't want to mimic clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason why I decided to bail, like I said, I was either gonna look for a sword or the flute. And finding the flute, I bailed. The absolute worst case scenario for me was if there was no sword in GT, I would have gone ahead and I could have just gotten right out, go clear pod, because it's basically right there, and see, okay, there's 3 items left. Chances are there's probably one there, if not green pendant. But thankfully I didn't have to do that much.
So, I'm thinking Signums might come in soon. We'll just see. But yeah. GG, Signums.
Yeah, thank you. That one was interesting.
I mean, what was your opinion on it?
I mean, it was alright. Kind of wish I would have had another sword a little bit earlier, but other than that, it wasn't too bad.
If I'm correct, you didn't find the sword in Misery Mire, did you? So that means you got the
no.
4th sword.
No, I didn't find it in Misery Mire. I found Tempered at the top of GT.
Where was your
master?
Yeah, where's your second?
The Master Sword? That was in Pod, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Everything was in pod.
Yeah, wonderful.
I think that was Pod?
Oh, there was another sword in pod too?
Of course.
I say, because I'm pretty sure that's where I found the Master Sword, was Pod.
Okay.
Because I was still looking for a sword at that point when I found the flute, so I kept checking.
With everything being in Pendant Pod, had Leoria been in this seat, she would have beaten us all by like a half hour.
You know, somebody once told me that there's always a sword in swamp. Whoever came up with that theory, we've clearly disproved that. So
There
Oh,
usually
yeah.
is.
that up.
There usually is, but not today.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I went there early.
Mm. Yeah. The main a lot of it came down to the flute. There was one major difference. Joss at the beginning went up Death Mountain to get the hook shot, and then went down and did Swamp before everybody else actually. But yeah, that flute. You did Desert Palace before you did Pod, didn't you? That was just crazy. But yeah, so does anybody have anything else to say on this, on how the match was?
I just want to say GG's to all the top 5 or whatever runners did like a really good time on the seed. So well played.
Okay.
And yeah, GG's to everybody that participated. GG's to Beer, Joss, and Signums. GG's to everybody else that ran it. And also shout out to you, Goran. And I don't know, I forgot who the tracker was. But thank you very much for volunteering and doing this. It's the volunteers that really make this possible. We, our pain and agony of trying to find a sword hopefully entertains the masses. And hopefully me spewing out a few B's in Aga 2 caused an immense amount of lag. Shows the fact that, you know what, you might be able to time triples better, but guess what? I didn't.
I think it was Jinxie Girl, but who I also want to say thank you to, and to Rob's for, I believe, restreaming. Thank you, everybody who was helping with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everyone for putting this on, as always, and GG's to all the other runners, Joss, Ed, Signums, and the rest of the ones in Race Room. This was a kind of a dumb seed, but it was fun for about 40 minutes, and it became less.
It was definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, that's all that really matters in these dailies, so weeklies.
Ooh. So yeah. Well, if that's it, just so many people to say thank you to. Again, thank you to all our runners who ran the seed. Thank you, Homemade Beer, Signums, Joss, Mr. Ed 3. Thank you to everybody watching. Thank you, Jinxie Girl and Robs, for tracking. It was really useful and really great to have you here. Just thank you to Speed Gaming for doing all of this, for sorting out all these read streams, and just thank you to you, the chat, for being here as well. And that's about all that I can sort of think of. And just thank you, everybody. And from Speed Gaming, good night, and take care.
Mhm.